The starship glided silently through the purple haze of Xylarian's upper atmosphere. Its sleek silver frame reflected the soft glow of the alien suns, casting long streaks of light across the ship's hull. Inside, Elior sat in the captain's chair, hands resting lightly on his knees, eyes wide with cautious awe. He had trained for this moment for years, but nothing could fully prepare him for the reality of stepping onto an alien world. Xylarian was nothing like Earth. Its cities floated in the air, towers spiraling like crystalline trees, their surfaces shimmering with colors that shifted with the sunlight. Skyways of pure energy connected the floating platforms, and the air hummed with the quiet rhythm of unseen machinery. Aliens moved through the streets, their forms elegant and fluid, their eyes glowing faintly with intelligence. Some had wings, some had multiple limbs, and all carried an air of quiet authority that made Elior feel both small and fascinated. As the starship descended toward the landing platform, Elior's heart pounded. This was more than a diplomatic mission. This was the first time a human had ever come to Xylarian officially. He had read every report about alien culture, every treaty document, every possible contingency. Still standing here, seeing the world alive and moving, he realized that knowledge alone could not prepare him for what awaited. The landing was smooth. A soft hiss and a slight vibration were the only signs that the ship had touched the platform. Before Elior could step out, the doors opened with a soft, melodic chime. A group of aliens awaited him, their forms tall and regal. Their eyes, large, luminescent, and unreadable, watched him carefully. "Welcome, human," said one in a voice that seemed to resonate directly in his mind. Elior blinked in surprise. The aliens communicated not only through sound, but through subtle vibrations of thought. It was disorienting at first, but he had trained for it. "I am Velen, the council envoy. You are to be escorted to the capital immediately." Elior nodded, bowing slightly. "Thank you. I am honored to be here." The journey through Xylarian was unlike anything he had imagined. The streets shimmered with moving lights, and the buildings seemed to bend and twist as if alive. Other humans had only been observers in holographic records. Elior was experiencing it firsthand. He noticed small details, how the air currents seemed to respond to movement, how creatures of every shape and size navigated the skies and streets effortlessly. He felt like an explorer in a land that was both beautiful and alien. As they approached the capital, whispers began to drift through the air, not sounds exactly, but a subtle wave of thoughts that spoke of disbelief and curiosity. Elior could sense it, though he could not understand the words fully. "Mortals," he heard a voice think. "Fragile, temporary." He stiffened slightly. Humans had been underestimated before, but he did not intend to confirm their doubts. The council chambers were immense, taller than any building on Earth. Bioluminescent patterns rippled across the walls, forming abstract symbols that shifted as if alive. At the far end of the room sat a figure so imposing that Elior felt a momentary hesitation in his step. The alien Queen Zira, she was magnificent. Her form was taller than any of her attendants. Her skin shimmered with a subtle iridescence, and her eyes glowed with a deep intelligence that seemed to pierce through Elior's very thoughts. The courtiers whispered again, their thoughts a flurry of doubt and fascination. No mortal had ever approached her chambers willingly, and even fewer had been invited. Elior straightened his back and took careful steps forward. "Your Majesty," he said, keeping his voice steady, "I am Elior of Earth. I come in peace and with respect for your people." Zira's gaze lingered on him longer than expected. She made no move, but Elior felt the weight of her attention like a tangible force. The room was silent, save for the soft hum of energy running through the walls. "You are unusual," she finally said, her voice calm but layered with curiosity. "Most mortals arrive here and falter. You do not." Elior met her gaze, choosing his words carefully. "I have trained for this moment, Your Majesty. I seek understanding and cooperation between our worlds." The Queen's eyes flickered briefly, a sign of approval among her species. "We shall see," she replied, standing. Her form moved with a grace that seemed almost liquid yet entirely controlled. "For now, you will be escorted to your quarters. You are expected to attend the council tomorrow. There will be many who doubt you. Do not disappoint." "Yes, Your Majesty," Elior said, bowing once more. He was escorted through a series of corridors that seemed to stretch infinitely, walls pulsating with light and energy. At every turn he could feel the alien curiosity pressing against him. Even the guards, Tall, multi-limbed beings with reflective skin watched him closely, as if studying whether he would falter. Finally, he arrived at his quarters. The room was elegant yet minimalistic. Walls of smooth crystal glowed softly, and the bed was suspended slightly above the ground, hovering gently. On a table were small devices, alien in design, some of which pulsed gently with light. Elior set down his pack, taking a deep breath. He had expected challenges, yes, but the weight of the moment was heavier than anticipated. Humans had often been underestimated by alien civilizations, assumed weak or fragile. Here, in the heart of Xylarian, Elior felt the truth of those assumptions, and the opportunity to prove them wrong. That night, he walked to the balcony overlooking the floating city. The lights below twinkled like stars, and he could see ships moving silently through the air. A wave of anticipation and perhaps fear passed through him. This world was unlike any he had ever known. The people were intelligent, capable, and beautiful in ways he could not fully comprehend. And among them, Queen Zira, the one who never touched mortals, the one who ruled with absolute authority, had already taken notice of him. Elior clenched his fists lightly. He could not predict what would happen next, but he knew one thing. Humans were more than fragile mortals. They were resilient, adaptable, and capable of surprising even the most advanced civilizations. And tomorrow, when the council met, he would begin to prove it. As he turned away from the balcony, a faint thought brushed his mind, almost like a whisper. It was not his own. Interesting. Very interesting, it said. Elior shivered. He did not need to know more to understand that his journey on Xylarian was just beginning, and that he had already begun to change the way the aliens saw humanity. The next morning, Elior awoke to the soft glow of bioluminescent light filtering through the crystal walls of his quarters. His body ached slightly from the long journey, but his mind was alert, buzzing with anticipation. Today he would meet the council, and perhaps face the queen once more. He stepped onto the balcony and looked over the city below. Ships glided smoothly between floating platforms, and alien citizens moved with a grace that seemed almost choreographed. Yet Elior noticed something curious. Small groups of aliens gathered at certain intersections, whispering with a flurry of mental energy. He could not fully understand their thoughts, but he could sense skepticism, doubt, and a faint trace of curiosity. Humans were rare here. Elior knew that he had already attracted attention. A soft chime echoed through the room. Elior turned to see a figure waiting at the door, one of the queen's attendants. A tall alien with smooth silver skin and 3 luminescent eyes. Elior, the attendant said in a calm voice that resonated in his mind. Queen Zira requests your presence in the palace gardens. There, she wishes to see how adaptable you truly are. Elior nodded. Adaptable. That word lingered in his thoughts. Humans had survived harsh climates, disasters, and wars on Earth through creativity and resilience. Perhaps that was what she wanted to test. He followed the attendant through the palace corridors. The gardens were unlike any natural space he had ever seen. Towers of crystal spiraled upward, with floating pools of water hovering mid-air. Bioluminescent plants emitted a soft hum, and petals drifted gently through the air as if floating on invisible currents. At the center of this ethereal landscape stood Queen Zira herself, her iridescent skin glowing faintly in the soft light. You are early, she said, her voice calm but commanding. Good, I have prepared a challenge for you. Elior's heart raced. A challenge. Many aliens solved problems with precise logic, but humans often relied on creativity and intuition. He wondered if that was what she sought to see. Zira extended one of her hands. A small glowing sphere hovered above her palm. It shifted in color and emitted faint ripples of energy. This is the Orelon puzzle, she said. It is simple for my people, nearly impossible for mortals. Yet I wish to see what you can do. Solve it, and you may gain insight into the council's thoughts. Fail, and you will learn humility. Elior examined the sphere. It pulsed with light, changing patterns constantly. He could sense energy flowing through it, energy that responded to thought, emotion, and movement. It was not merely a mechanical puzzle. It was alive in a sense. He inhaled deeply. I will do my best, Your Majesty, he said. Zira nodded, stepping back to watch. Around her, the garden seemed to hold its breath, as though the plants and light themselves were aware of the test. Elior reached out and touched the sphere. The energy rippled, sending waves through his mind. At first, it seemed impossible. The pattern shifted too quickly. The energy responded unpredictably, and his initial attempts only caused confusion. He could feel subtle Elior awoke before the soft glow of Xylarian's twin suns filtered through the crystal walls of his quarters. He had barely slept, his mind racing with thoughts of the Orlan puzzle from the previous day. The Queen's rare praise had filled him with pride, but it had also brought an undercurrent of tension. If the council doubted him, they would not hesitate to challenge him, and he had little room for error. A chime echoed through his room, soft but commanding. He turned to see a small shimmering figure, an attendant of Queen Zira, floating in the doorway. Its form shifted slightly as it spoke, eyes glowing faintly. "Elior," it said in a resonant mental voice, "the Queen requests your presence tonight. You are to meet her in the night chamber." Elior's chest tightened. The night chamber was a place few mortals had ever entered. Rumors spoke of its bioluminescent walls, its artifacts of unimaginable power, and the knowledge it held from centuries of the Queen's reign. To be summoned here was an honor, and a test unlike any other. He nodded. "I understand. I will come." The journey through the palace was quieter than usual. The attendants and guards, usually observing him with curiosity, moved aside with a subtle reverence. The corridors themselves seemed to hum softly, as if acknowledging the importance of his passage. Elior kept his steps measured, his mind focused and his senses alert. Every detail could matter. At last they arrived at a massive door of black crystal, carved with glowing symbols that pulsed in gentle rhythm. The attendant paused and gestured toward the door. "The Queen awaits." Elior took a deep breath and stepped forward. As the door opened, a wave of energy washed over him. The night chamber was unlike any room he had ever seen. The walls shimmered with colors that shifted constantly, forming patterns of alien language and art. Suspended platforms held artifacts from countless worlds, and the air was thick with a quiet energy that seemed almost alive. At the center of the chamber stood Queen Zira, her eyes, glowing with a soft, mesmerizing light, fixed on Elior. She was taller than he remembered, her presence commanding and yet calm, like a force of nature contained in perfect balance. "You have done well with the Orlan puzzle," she said, her voice resonating in his mind. "Few mortals would attempt it, and fewer still would succeed. You have shown patience, observation, and adaptability, qualities rare in your kind." Elior bowed deeply. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I only did what seemed right." Zira's gaze studied him closely. "Tell me, human, do you understand why I summoned you here?" Elior hesitated. "I am not certain, Your Majesty. I hope to understand through your guidance." The Queen stepped closer, her presence filling the chamber with a gentle hum of energy. "You are unique, Elior. Most mortals who arrive here are timid, fearful, or predictable. You are not. You think differently. You feel differently. That difference intrigues me." Elior felt a flicker of nervousness. To be called unique by the Queen was both an honor and a weighty responsibility. "I am honored, Your Majesty. I only wish to serve with respect and integrity." Zira's eyes seemed to pierce through him, not threatening but assessing. "Integrity and courage are valuable traits. But here, intellect alone is not enough. I wish to see your moral reasoning, your empathy, and your ability to make decisions under pressure." "This is your true test," Elior's mind sharpened. He had faced challenges on Earth that tested courage, creativity, and morality. He could do the same here. "I understand," he said quietly. The Queen moved to a raised platform, gesturing to a series of holographic projections that filled the chamber. Each projection depicted a scenario: conflicts between species, crises threatening entire worlds, dilemmas where no option was clearly right. "These are situations that my council has faced, situations where decisions affected billions of lives," Zira explained. "I wish to see how your human perspective differs from ours." Elior studied the first projection. A planet's orbit had been destabilized, threatening all life on its surface. The alien solution was to evacuate only the elite and leave the rest to perish. Elior's mind raced. Humans valued life differently. They sought to protect as many as possible, even at great risk. He suggested alternative solutions, using available technology to stabilize the planet's orbit temporarily, coordinating evacuations with priority for the most vulnerable, and employing unconventional strategies that balanced risk and reward. Zira listened carefully, her expression unreadable. When Elior finished, she spoke. Interesting. You prioritize life and adaptability over rigid hierarchy. This is unlike my council. The next scenario involved a diplomatic conflict. Two species were on the brink of war over limited resources. The alien approach was direct, focusing on dominance and negotiation from a position of power. Elior proposed mediation, compromise, and the sharing of resources, even suggesting creative uses of unclaimed territories to avoid bloodshed. Again, Zyra studied him. Your solutions rely on creativity, empathy, and the willingness to act unpredictably. Traits my people rarely apply in such situations. Elior felt a quiet confidence growing. This was not merely a test of intellect, it was a test of humanity itself. And humanity, he realized, had strengths that even the most advanced civilizations could not always anticipate. Finally, the Queen presented the last scenario. A cosmic anomaly threatened a star system, and evacuation seemed impossible due to its speed. The alien response was protocol-driven: accept loss and minimize effort. Elior considered it carefully. Humans often faced impossible odds. They had survived plagues, storms, and conflicts that seemed insurmountable. He proposed a bold, unconventional plan: redirect smaller spacecraft to stabilize the anomaly's trajectory temporarily, use adaptive shields to protect key areas, and employ rapid response teams to rescue as many lives as possible. Zira's glowing eyes widened slightly. You would risk everything even with high uncertainty? Elior nodded. Humanity has always faced uncertainty. We adapt, we try. We act because inaction is worse than risk. The Queen's lips curved in what might be considered a faint smile. You are brave and unpredictable human. I underestimated your kind. Perhaps the Council has judged too quickly. Elior bowed again. I only seek to show that humans can contribute meaningfully, even where others doubt us. Zira's voice softened. You have done more than demonstrate capability. You have shown insight, courage, and empathy. You have given me reason to reconsider our assumptions about mortals. Elior felt a surge of pride, tempered by humility. This was more than personal success, it was a step toward reshaping how an entire civilization viewed his species. The Queen stepped closer. Tomorrow the Council will meet. They will question you. They will doubt you. But you are not here merely to survive their scrutiny. You are here to lead, to show that humans, despite their mortality, possess qualities that can rival even the most advanced of my people. Elior met her gaze steadily. I understand, Your Majesty. I will do my best. Zira nodded once. For now, rest. Your mind must be ready for the challenges ahead. But remember this, it is not only intellect that matters. Courage, morality, and creativity are what make humans remarkable. As Elior left the night chamber, he felt the weight of her words. They were a mixture of challenge and encouragement, a call to rise above expectation. Humans were often underestimated, but he had already shown that they were resilient, resourceful, and capable of thinking in ways that even advanced aliens could not always predict. That night, as he gazed over the glowing city, Elior reflected on the path ahead. The Council's scrutiny would be intense. The challenges would grow, yet he knew that humanity had strengths worth proving. Patience, observation, empathy, and the willingness to take calculated risks. These were human traits that could shift the balance of perception. And for the first time in his life, Elior felt that the fate of not just himself, but of humanity's reputation in this alien world, rested squarely on his shoulders. Yet instead of fear, he felt determination. The night chamber had revealed more than a challenge. It had revealed potential, and Elior knew that. As long as he remained true to the human way of thinking and acting, there was no obstacle too great, no alien prejudice too entrenched, and no challenge too impossible. Tonight he would rest. Tomorrow he would face the Council. And the story of humanity on Xylarian would continue, one courageous, clever step at a time. The following morning, Elior felt a mixture of anticipation and tension. Today he would attend the Council meeting, a gathering of Xylarian's most influential minds. He dressed carefully in the simple uniform provided to him, its sleek lines designed to blend with alien aesthetics, yet light enough to allow ease of movement. Despite the grandeur, he reminded himself that his strength was not in appearance, but in thought, courage, and clarity. As he walked through the palace corridors, he noticed subtle murmurs among the attendants and guards. Their mental energy conveyed a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The whispers had been expected. Humans were rare, and Elior's prior successes had already attracted attention. Most Xylarians had believed mortals were too fragile, too unpredictable to be of value. Yet here he was, a living challenge to centuries of assumption. At last he entered the council chamber. It was vast, larger than any hall he had seen on Earth. Crystal platforms floated mid-air, arranged in a semicircle around the central dais where Queen Zira sat. Council members, diverse in foreman. The day began with a strange mixture of tension and anticipation. Elior stood on the observation deck of Xylarian's primary fleet command station, gazing out at the dark expanse of space. Beyond the city's floating platforms and glowing towers lay the Void Leviathan, a massive, shadowy form that moved through the void with terrifying grace. Its energy pulses distorted space itself, threatening to tear planets from their orbits if left unchecked. Elior took a deep breath, steadying his mind. The council had agreed to the human-alien alliance, though not without skepticism. Several commanders still doubted a mortal could contribute meaningfully to the strategy. Elior knew that his actions in the coming hours would either validate human ingenuity or reinforce centuries of prejudice. Human, a voice said behind him. Elior turned to see Commander Valar, a tall Xylarian with translucent wings and reflective skin. The fleets are assembled. We will engage the Leviathan within the next cycle. Are you prepared to direct part of the operation? Elior nodded. I am ready. My plan relies on adaptability and rapid response. We must anticipate the Leviathan's movements, not react after it strikes. Valar studied him for a moment, then inclined his head. Very well. Let us see what a human can do. The strategy room was a marvel of alien technology. Holographic star maps floated in midair, showing planets, fleets, and energy patterns. Elior moved among the displays, pointing to potential attack vectors, shield placements, and rapid response squads. His human perspective emphasized flexibility and improvisation rather than rigid formations. Several Xylarian commanders raised objections. Your method relies on unpredictability, one said. Our protocols are precise, tested over centuries. Chaos is dangerous. Elior smiled faintly. Precision is valuable, yes. But the Leviathan is unpredictable. Following protocol alone will not suffice. We must act creatively and adapt quickly. That is humanity's strength. Commander Valar observed quietly, clearly conflicted. Others whispered among themselves, debating whether to trust the mortal's unconventional tactics. Elior knew persuasion alone would not win them over. Action would. Soon the fleets moved into position. Elior monitored energy fluctuations, noting subtle shifts in the Leviathan's behavior. The creature emitted pulses of force that deflected traditional attacks. The alien commanders initially followed their usual protocols, only to find their energy beams scattered, shields destabilized, and formations broken. See, Elior said calmly. It does not follow patterns we expect. We must adapt, not repeat the same approach. He issued rapid adjustments to the Xylarian forces, suggesting new formations, timing attacks differently, and redirecting defensive shields to counter unexpected energy waves. At first, the commanders hesitated, but as Elior's suggestions stabilized the fleets and prevented losses, their skepticism gave way to cautious trust. Hours passed. The Leviathan struck with relentless force, testing every protocol the Xylarians had mastered. Yet Elior's human intuition and flexibility allowed the combined forces to respond in real time. They redirected energy shields, flanked the Leviathan's approach, and exploited weak points that traditional algorithms had overlooked. One Xylarian commander, skeptical at first, projected a thought to his peers. The human is correct. Adaptation works where our methods fail. Elior noticed the shift in morale. Xylarians were intelligent, yet their reliance on protocol sometimes limited creativity. Humans thrived in unpredictable circumstances, and Elior's guidance demonstrated that strength clearly. During a critical moment, the Leviathan fired a concentrated energy pulse toward a nearby planet. The alien shields could not fully absorb it. Elior acted instantly, redirecting small human-operated craft in precise trajectories to stabilize the energy flow. The planet's atmosphere shimmered under the combined effort, and disaster was averted. Commander Valar approached him, eyes glowing faintly. I doubted mortals, he admitted. But your approach saved countless lives. Perhaps humans are more capable than we assumed. Elior nodded, focusing on the battle. We must continue. The Leviathan is adapting to us as well. We must remain unpredictable, flexible, and alert. The battle raged for cycles. Aliens deployed advanced weapons, but the Leviathan shifted tactics constantly. Each time it seemed a strategy would succeed, it changed course. Yet every time Elior found a new solution. He guided rescue squads, coordinated energy pulses, and even suggested minor sacrificial maneuvers, calculated risks that minimized losses while maintaining the offensive. The alien commanders began to rely on his judgment in real time. What had begun as skepticism had become respect. Humans, Elior realized, brought something the Xylarians had long undervalued. The ability to act decisively and creatively under pressure, seeing solutions beyond rigid patterns. Hours later, the Leviathan recoiled. Its energy pulses weakened, its massive body slowed. Elior directed a coordinated strike using combined alien and human ingenuity. Tiny craft moved unpredictably around the Leviathan, luring it into energy traps and shields arranged in unconventional ways. Finally, the creature faltered, and a surge of focused energy immobilized it temporarily. The fleets maintained pressure, and the Leviathan, exhausted and destabilized, retreated into the void. Cheers and mental waves of relief spread across the command station. Elior felt a quiet satisfaction, tempered by exhaustion. He had not only contributed to victory, but had demonstrated the value of human creativity, courage, and adaptability. Commander Valar approached him once more. You have done what none of us expected, humans. Are remarkable indeed, Elior smiled humbly. I only acted as humans have always acted when faced with impossible odds. We adapt, we innovate, and we persevere. That evening, the council gathered again. The victorious fleets had returned, and reports of human-led strategies were shared. The council chambers, once filled with skepticism, now resonated with discussion, admiration, and cautious respect. Queen Zira rose, her presence commanding attention. Today, we witness the value of collaboration, strategy, and courage. Elior of Earth demonstrated qualities that even my most advanced warriors sometimes lack: intuition, adaptability, and decisive action under uncertainty. Several council members nodded. We were wrong to doubt the mortal, one admitted. Their guidance saved lives and prevented disaster. Perhaps humans are not fragile after all. Zira's gaze softened as it settled on Elior. You have proven that mortals, despite their limitations, can contribute in ways our species sometimes cannot. This alliance is not merely tactical, it is a recognition of human ingenuity, courage, and resilience. Elior bowed respectfully. I am honored, Your Majesty. I only sought to serve, and to show that humans can rise to challenges with creativity and resolve. The Queen's eyes glimmered faintly. You have done more than serve. You have reminded us that underestimation can be costly. Perhaps the universe itself has ways of testing us, and those tests often reveal the true strengths of the overlooked. That night, Elior stood on the balcony overlooking the floating city. The battle had been won, but he knew that the void Leviathan was only one threat among many in the cosmos. The real journey was just beginning. Humans had demonstrated their worth, but the universe was vast, unpredictable, and filled with challenges that even the most advanced civilizations could not foresee. Yet Elior felt a quiet pride. Today, he had shown that humans were more than fragile mortals. They were clever, adaptable, and courageous, capable of surviving and thriving where others might fail. And with that realization, Elior knew that humanity had earned a place in the stars, not just as observers but as true participants, capable of shaping outcomes and inspiring respect. As the bioluminescent lights of Xylarian shimmered around him, Elior allowed himself a small smile. The human's journey had begun, and he was determined to ensure that no alien would ever underestimate them again. The void Leviathan's return was faster than anyone had anticipated. Its immense form darkened the void, stretching across multiple planets' orbits. Energy pulses radiated outward, bending space and threatening destruction on a scale that left even Xylarian's most experienced commanders uneasy. Elior stood on the observation deck, his mind racing through every strategy, every adjustment he had made in the previous battle. The first encounter had been a test of human adaptability and creativity. This encounter would be the true proof, not only of human ingenuity but of the strength of the alliance he had helped form. Commander Valor approached, wings shimmering faintly. The Leviathan is faster this time. Its attacks are more unpredictable. Our previous strategies may not suffice. Elior nodded. Then we adapt again. Humans survive by improvising under pressure. We analyze, we observe, and we act before the enemy can anticipate us. That is what we will do here. The fleets moved into formation, but Elior immediately noted flaws in the standard arrangements. The Leviathan's energy pulses had evolved, striking in patterns designed to destabilize conventional shields. Following rigid protocols, as the Xylarian commanders had learned, would be disastrous. Split the fleets into smaller, flexible units, Elior instructed. Allow rapid repositioning. Use decoy craft to draw its attention, while we target weak points with concentrated energy pulses. Trust instincts, not only protocol. Some commanders hesitated, their mental projections expressing doubt. Mortals cannot lead fleets agay.